Okay. 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 Now. Yep.
Do I need to continue on that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
continue.
Okay. So that many non-Malays will actually complain about this, and therefore you have, serious brain drain or to some extent capital flight from this country. But I think it's important for us to recognize that in the past there have been also injustices on the Bumiputra, for example. I came from a Sunday shop background. My parents run a Sunday shop. One of the things that I knew when I was a kid was that Chinese customer or we, something very familiar to me was that people would say, "Hey, both of us are Chinese. Shouldn't you give us discount?" What that implied was that it's a cultural practice that people believe that you should favor your own people. Now, if the non-Malays or the Chinese do so, and of course you're basically saying that the Malay and the Indians would be effectively subsidizing the privileged Chinese. And I think it's important for people to recognize that the state policy, which is morally not justifiable, is very much a response of the Malays to what they perceive as injustice and unfavorable practices in the private sector. I believe this country must move forward. We should free people from um, people from any discrimination based on group membership. People should be treated for who they are, for what they do rather than for who they were born in, what categories they're born into. I think that's no doubt about that. But at the same time, I think it's important for people to understand why things are there. I'm not sure whether your country have the instances of ethno-religious politics or communal politics. If you don't, I would like to offer a bit of my insight or my view on why these things come about. Ethnic politics, just like any form of collectivism, runs like a lottery ticket. Now, when you have a lottery ticket, that doesn't mean that you have 1 million in your hand, but it gives you a hope that say, if someone with a similar background like me could have won that 1 million, I could be the next one. So it gives you hope. But that's the entire idea of these ethnic politics things. When you look at the implementations of the Bumiputraism policy, it has not benefited many people at the bottom. These are people remain very poor, but they have to bear the name that they were dependent on the states for all these goodies. So, but you ask them and say, let's give up all these privileges and so on. I suppose many of them would say no. Why? Because they have not got the real empowerment, the social outward mobility for them to actually confidently say we don't need any protection. So the Bumiputraism policy is very much like a lottery ticket, which gives them hope. Most people who buy a lottery ticket never actually get rich, but they give them hope when they're poor.
Now let's move on to the laws in Malaysia itself. The Sharia courts, especially, and the regular laws in Malaysia. I know that they do play a very important part in politics. Now, do you think Malaysia will become more conservative? When it comes to Islam, and are they going to impose more Islamic laws in the coming months or years, or even after the next election?
Yes, I think there is a possibility that Malaysia is turning to be more conservative. But I would like to put that in the context. I believe the manifestations of religious conservatism or even authoritarianism is but a manifestations of the ethnic politics. Because if we go back to 50s and 60s, the Malay would stress about their language, because that had important economic consequences. By uplifting the Malay language to be the national language, then the native speakers of the Malay language, of course, gain an enormous advantage in employments and market and so on. Over time, so in the 50s and 60s, you find that the different ethnic groups argue over whether the Malay should be made the sole official language, while whether the minority language should be suppressed and so on. That has been the argument. Over time, many Malays, sorry, can I just go back? So that,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's move on.